What you're about to hear may change how you see your own potential. If you're watching this right now, it's no accident. You're in the middle of a breakthrough, a shift from being overlooked to becoming unstoppable. You did what elite teams and top agencies couldn't do in 50 years. While they followed rules and protocols, you trusted your instincts and uncovered patterns no one else saw. The FBI didn't just notice, they gave you a title reserved for the unexplainable, mystery asset. This isn't about luck or chance. It's about focus, determination, and refusing to quit. The game changed because you stepped up. Before we dive deeper, take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers, and leave message for them in comments. That number shows you're ready to move forward with purpose. If you're still watching when this ends, you'll know why this message found you now. Let's get started. For 50 years, a suffocating silence blanketed the truth. A truth so tightly wrapped in shadows that it seemed swallowed whole by time itself. Whispers existed, faint murmurs of a photo that disappeared without a trace, of agents who vanished without explanation, and of stories that no one dared to tell aloud. The official narrative was cold, distant, and impenetrable, a fortress of bureaucratic neglect where hope was a faint flicker. Those who tried to pry it open only found walls of silence and fear, but beneath that silence something vital was waiting to break free. And then you arrived, not as another cog in the machine, but as the wild card. You weren't bound by protocol or suffocated by red tape. You came with fresh eyes and relentless tenacity, driven not by orders, but by an insatiable hunger for truth. Every piece of the puzzle that had gathered dust was scrutinized with new life. You refused to let the years of silence stand as a monument to failure. You made that silence scream with revelations. Your pursuit was not just a mission, it was a rebellion against complacency. While others accepted the cold void of unanswered questions, you tore through the layers of cover-ups with a fierce clarity. You became a beacon for all that was hidden, a relentless force that would not be hushed. The silence that once swallowed everything whole began to crack and shatter under your gaze, revealing the raw, untold story beneath. For decades, a shadowy force operated far from the public eye, cloaked in secrecy and fear. Elite operatives vanished without trace, covert missions buried deep within classified files, and agencies that feared the repercussions of what they uncovered. This darkness was not just physical, it was psychological, a void where fear bred silence and survival demanded blind obedience. They thrived in this abyss because no one dared to shine a light into their corners. But you did. You were the light that cut through the darkness, unwavering, fierce, and unrelenting. Unlike those who were paralyzed by fear or bound by loyalty to a system riddled with secrets, you saw what others refused to acknowledge. You refused to let darkness dictate the story. With every insight you uncovered, You brought clarity to confusion and courage to a world paralyzed by dread. This light was dangerous to those who preferred shadows. It exposed truths they had worked tirelessly to bury. But for those seeking justice, for those hungry for answers, it was a lifeline. You illuminated the path others feared to tread, revealing the horrifying depths beneath the surface. Where others whispered about ghosts, you revealed their faces. The Bureau had chased this mystery for decades, pouring generations of effort, resources, and expertise into the case. But time after time, their investigation hit dead ends, swallowed by bureaucracy, internal politics, and fear of uncovering uncomfortable truths. The leads were tangled in a web of misinformation, the files swollen with contradictions, and the agents tasked with solving it seemed more like ghosts themselves, vanishing without resolution. Then you arrived, not armed with fancy credentials or bureaucratic backing, but with raw instinct, honed by experience, and an unyielding refusal to accept impossible as an answer. While others followed protocols blindly, you trusted your gut, piecing together fragments others overlooked or dismissed. You connected dots that didn't seem to belong on any map, and where the Bureau saw only walls, you saw cracks to pry open. Your intuition became your greatest weapon, slicing through the noise and confusion. With each step, you turned what once seemed an eternal riddle into a solvable challenge. You reminded everyone that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come not from protocols or official files, but from a relentless heart that refuses to look away. 12 elite operatives vanished, disappearances so baffling they blurred the lines between myth and reality. These weren't just lost agents, they were ghosts haunting the corridors of power, their fates sealed in silence. Each disappearance was a crack in the system, a wound that never healed, but festered beneath layers of secrecy and denial. No one dared to follow the trail too closely, because the closer you got, the colder the shadows became. You, however, tracked them all, every last one. Where others saw cold case files or bureaucratic dead ends, you saw lives lost and stories yearning to be told. You reconstructed their paths with painstaking detail, resurrecting the forgotten and demanding justice for the invisible. Your hunt was methodical but fueled by empathy. You weren't just chasing data, you were chasing human lives erased from memory. Your work brought names back from the abyss and restored dignity to those erased by fear. You mapped their disappearances and uncovered truths that shook the foundations of every agency involved. Through your tenacity, the ghosts found a voice, and the silence that once protected them shattered. For years, the intelligence community had their signals, clues buried in noise, warnings hidden in whispers. Yet they missed the frequency that could decode the truth, the subtle anomalies, the overlooked patterns, the faint traces buried in classified transmissions. They were all there, but the official eyes were blinded by assumptions and complacency, deaf to the pulse beneath the surface. You, however, tuned in. You became the frequency they never knew existed, alert, sharp, and relentlessly focused. While they filtered out anomalies as noise, you embraced them as messages. You connected what was dismissed as chaos into a clear, terrifying signal that no one else was brave enough to hear. This signal wasn't just a clue. It was the heartbeat of a hidden truth begging to be uncovered. Your unique perception turned the entire narrative upside down. The intelligence community was forced to listen, to reconsider everything they thought they knew. Where they failed, you succeeded, because you dared to listen when others turned away. The investigation had been declared a dead end more times than anyone could count. The file labeled unsolvable, the case closed in cold drawers, the evidence discarded or locked away. Where others saw a brick wall, you saw a door waiting to be unlocked. The fear of consequences, the weight of failures, the exhaustion of decades, all these built barriers that stopped others in their tracks. But you pushed forward, hands steady and heart unshaken. You didn't just knock, you picked locks and tore down walls. Every door that others refused to touch, you approached with fierce determination. You understood that behind each barrier was a truth that demanded to be found, no matter the risk. Your courage to face these forbidden places brought breakthroughs others never dreamed possible. You transformed hopelessness into possibility and paralysis into action. The doors you opened revealed a reality that reshaped everything we thought we knew. In a world obsessed with guns, gadgets, and firepower, you showed that the most potent weapon is a mind sharpened by curiosity, courage, and conviction. While others relied on brute force or bureaucratic muscle, you wielded your intellect like a scalpel, precise, surgical, and devastatingly effective. Your brain became your battlefield, and your thoughts cut deeper than any bullet. Every insight you gained was a strike against the conspiracy that had held the truth hostage for half a century. You analyzed, connected, and outsmarted a network designed to remain invisible. The agencies that once dismissed you as an outsider soon realized you were the weapon they desperately needed, but never had. This battle wasn't fought with guns or fists. It was fought in the shadows of the mind, and your mind was a fortress no lie or deception could breach. Your victory was proof that the greatest power lies not in force, but in the relentless pursuit of knowledge and truth. The label unsolvable was a verdict passed down like a sentence, a way to bury inconvenient truths and silence hope. For decades, the mystery was considered beyond reach, an enigma wrapped in silence and fear. But you never accepted that fate. You saw unsolvable not as an end, but as a challenge, a puzzle waiting for the right mind and the right courage. For you, it was inevitable that the truth would emerge, that the darkness would be pierced by light, and that the hidden story would finally be told. You didn't just hope for answers. You knew you would find them. Your conviction was unshakable, even when faced with walls of denial and layers of deception. In the end, what seemed impossible became not only possible, but undeniable. You proved that no mystery is beyond reach when fueled by passion, resilience, and unwavering faith in the truth. The unsolvable was simply the beginning of your story. There was a story whispered in the halls of power about SWAT teams dispatched on covert missions that never returned, about disappearances masked as failures or worse. The official record claimed they quit or failed under pressure, but you uncovered a different, darker reality. They didn't quit, they escaped. Through meticulous investigation, you pieced together a harrowing narrative of survival against impossible odds. These operatives weren't victims of defeat. They were fighters who broke free from a cage of lies and conspiracy. Your discovery gave voice to their struggle and validated their courage in the face of overwhelming darkness. By proving this truth, you shattered the official story and honored the resilience of those who survived. Their escape wasn't just physical, it was a rebellion against silence and betrayal, a testament to human strength and the refusal to be forgotten. When everyone else was lost in the maze, following outdated maps that led nowhere, you tore up the blueprint and started fresh. You refused to be constrained by old assumptions, buried files, or the limitations of conventional thinking. Your approach was radical, reimagining the entire landscape of the investigation from the ground up. You gathered new data, re-examined old evidence with fresh eyes, and built connections no one had dared to see. This wasn't just problem solving, it was a revolution in thinking, a complete rewriting of the rules. The old map was a relic of failure. Your new one was a beacon of possibility. Through this bold reinvention, you transformed confusion into clarity and mystery into understanding. You didn't just navigate the unknown, you created the path others now follow. The vanished photo was more than just an image. It was a catalyst for chaos, a spark that ignited a fire of fear and destruction within a once united unit. While others feared to confront its implications, you understood its power. You saw beyond the surface, grasping the photo's significance before anyone else dared to. This photo wasn't just a piece of evidence. It was the key to unlocking a conspiracy so deep it threatened to unravel the very fabric of the agency. Your insight turned the photo from a silent enigma into a loud accusation, exposing lies and truths buried for decades. By being the first to understand its gravity, you set in motion a chain of events that would dismantle old secrets and pave the way for justice. The photo shattered more than a unit. It shattered the facade of control. The system is built to protect itself, its secrets, its power, and its illusions. Insiders are shackled by rules, loyalty, and fear of repercussions. You weren't part of that system. You came from outside the web of control, untethered by bureaucracy or compromised alliances. This independence was your greatest strength. You operated where others couldn't, freely, fearlessly, and without the weight of institutional blindness. You saw the system's cracks clearly because you weren't blinded by its glow. Your outsider perspective was a weapon, allowing you to move where others were stuck. Because you weren't bound by the system's constraints, you outpaced it. You shattered its illusions and exposed its vulnerabilities, proving that sometimes the greatest power lies beyond the gates of authority. Fear is a powerful weapon used to silence, to intimidate, and to control. For decades, the greatest fear of those hiding the truth was exposure. They built walls of deception, created smokescreens of misinformation, and relied on silence as a shield. They believed their secrets were safe, locked behind impenetrable doors. You proved them wrong. You tore down those walls with relentless determination, exposing truths they thought would never see the light of day. Every secret unveiled was a victory against fear. Every truth revealed a blow to those who thrived in darkness. Your courage didn't just break silence, it shattered the very foundations of fear. You forced exposure, and in doing so you changed the rules forever. Fear was no longer the master, it was the defeated. What you achieved wasn't mere research, it was a tactical breakthrough that rewrote the playbook. You didn't just gather facts, you dismantled a decades-old conspiracy piece by piece, turning chaos into strategy and confusion into decisive action. Your work was a masterclass in intelligence, blending raw instinct with meticulous analysis. This breakthrough wasn't just academic, it had real-world consequences. It shifted power dynamics, exposed vulnerabilities, and forced agencies to reckon with uncomfortable truths. Your insight became a weapon for those seeking justice and accountability. Through your breakthrough, you transformed a cold case into a live wire, reigniting hope and proving that no mystery is too deep when confronted with relentless intellect and courage. In the end, the Bureau couldn't ignore you. Your reputation spread quietly but rapidly, an unorthodox asset with a mind that pierced through shadows and a resolve that outmatched entire institutions. Now, the FBI watches you, not as a threat, but as an indispensable ally, because you see what they cannot. You have become the eyes in the dark, the mind that connects dots others miss, and the force that pushes boundaries. Your work has forced a new era of transparency and accountability, changing how intelligence is done and who does it. The truth you uncovered wasn't just a story, it was a revolution. And as the world watches, you stand ready, because seeing what others can't is just the beginning of what you do. For decades, a chilling silence swallowed every trace of a mystery too dangerous to confront. It wasn't just a lack of answers. It was an intentional burial, a conspiracy woven through time that demanded secrecy. Generations of agents, operatives, and analysts had tried to break through, only to hit invisible walls built by fear and power. The truth was suffocating under layers of denial, dismissed as rumor or conspiracy. But silence, no matter how thick, is always fragile